just if you like that ease of transition, just position yourself where you would eventually come down to your Sukhasana or seated position. And then we're just going to start with feet about hip or shoulder distance apart. And we're going to focus a little bit on bones, or the movement of the bones in our yoga, but also just hot topic. Have you guys heard about how beneficial prunes are to our bone health and bone density? I've been eating prunes like a crazy person. So just look it up when you're free, if you're into nutrition stuff, because prunes, they taste good too. Anyways, okay, so find a nice even stance and then just start to invite a little bit of bounce. Pop your heels, let that gentle bit of bouncing come into your body, and then just notice how that feels, because that might be enough for some of us. And then if it feels good, we're going to take a little bit of rotation as we bounce. So you're just going to let your arms kind of swing, a little bit of bouncing and a little bit of twisting, but check in, make sure your knees feel good, make sure your hips feel good. So a little bit of impact on the bones is really good for our bone health. And then we also like to keep our muscles strong to help support the bones. And then bouncing also helps stimulate the lymphatic system and the central nervous system. And now we're going to add on just a little bit more. So as you bounce and as you twist, you're going to hum just a little bit. Humming tones the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve runs from the skull and it connects the belly and the brain. So think about humming as just a way to tone the central nervous system. So as you bounce, just let out a little, and if it feels good to do so, maybe you close your eyes just for a moment, tune in, notice that humming sound, notice the bouncing. At this point, maybe your calves are getting a little bit warm. All right, take one more little bounce, one more little twist, one more little hum, and then let everything come to stillness. Close your eyes down or soften your gaze. Take a nice deep breath in. Nice slow breath out. Bring one hand to the belly, one hand to the heart. Take a moment here just to set an intention to honor your mind and your body throughout your practice. Never doing anything in your practice that would cause your body pain, and treating yourself with love, care, and respect. Awesome. Now with that intention set, I'm going to say, open your eyes and see if you can come down to a Sukhasana without using your hands to support. But if you already know that getting up and down off the floor without using your hands is a challenge, use your hands so that you support yourself. But if you can come down into a seated position without putting your hands down on the ground, take a second to do that. And then once you found your comfortable seated position, just take a moment to resettle and wiggle into your sit bones. Find a nice tall uplifted spine. All right, and then once you found your nice comfortable seated position, eyes closed or just soften your gaze. Good morning, Ting. We're coming down into a seated position. Take a nice full generous breath in and think about breathing into your rib cage. So we want to think breathing front to back and side to side into the rib cage. Exhale nice and slow and allow the rib cage to draw in towards each other. Get a little taller, breathe into the rib cage. Slower exhale, but let the ribs draw in towards each other. One more breath, breathing into the rib cage. Exhale, ribs draw in towards each other. And now wherever your hands are resting, we're going to flip the palms so palms are facing up towards the ceiling. And then we're going to roll the fingers in. And as you roll the fingers in, just think about that movement of the bones in your hands, rolling through the knuckles and the joints of the fingers, and then opening the fingers out. So it doesn't have to be a focused movement. It can just move in whatever way that feels good to you, but we're just rolling the fingers in, working through the joints of the fingers, and then rolling the fingers back out. Nice. Take one more little roll of the fingers in, and then the next time your fingers roll in, hold a little fist, and we're going to lift the hands just slightly away from whatever surface they're touching, and then roll your fists in circles, go in one direction. But think about the movement of the joints in your wrist, and then roll the other way. Nice. And then let that rolling come to stillness. And then we're going to release our fingers and just lightly touch the shoulders. So we're just bending at the elbow joint. Beautiful. And then the next time your fingertips touch the shoulders, we're going to stay there and start to move our elbows in gentle circles. Start by circling in one direction, nice and small to start. Take your time. Notice how your shoulders feel. Notice if there's any little clicky places or crunchy places or any places that might need a little extra attention. And then if it feels good to do so, take it into nice, big, generous range of motion, just as much range of motion as your body allows. Awesome. And then when you feel ready, we're going to slow it down, make it smaller, start to reverse your circles, go the other way. Nice. And then if it feels good to do so, start to increase your range of motion. Beautiful. One more big giant circle around. And then when you're ready, left hand's going to touch down to the ground. Right hand's going to reach up alongside your ear and take a nice big side bend. And then as you side bend, think about the placement of your ribs. Notice that little bit of stress you might feel in the side body, the muscles, but think about the bones of the rib cage. See if you can take a nice big breath and breathe into the bones of your rib cage. Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, lift up and take it over to the other side. Find that comfortable position first. Feel that little bit of stress or stretch through the muscles in the side body. And then see if you can just tune in and think about where the bones are of the rib cage and then breathe into that space. One more breath. Awesome. And then when you're ready, lift up and we're going to take it right into a seated twist. Rotate to one side. How far your rotation is, just what feels good and comfortable in your body. We want a little movement in the spinal column, but you also feel that stress in the muscles, the skin, and the connective tissue. Take one more breath. Lovely. And then when you're ready, release and take your twist over to the other side. Same thing on this side. How far you go in your rotation, what feels good. You should be able to breathe comfortably, but you do feel a little constriction. Take one more breath. Nice. And then when you're ready, release back to center, move right into a seated cat-cow. Inhale as you lift your heart, lift your chin. Exhale, round your back and tuck chin into chest. Now we're moving flexion and extension into the spine. So inhale as you lift your heart. Exhale as you round back. How deep you go with this movement, it's what feels good to you. If you have osteoporosis, osteopenia, or anything like that, where you might want to be a little bit more concerned about the movement of the spine, you might, rather than being these big giant movements of flexion and extension, you might think about more of a lift up through the spine, keep it strong, and then that you might reduce your flexion and extension, but just move with a upward lifting sensation rather than that big giant back bending movement. So take one or two more cycles of breath, moving at the depth that is appropriate for you. And then when you're ready, we're going to find a nice neutral spine, lean back into your sits bones, swing your legs out to a wide configuration. Take a second to just make sure everything feels good. And then if you feel like that big stress in the hamstring muscles, bend your knees considerably just so you're not tugging against them and shooting pain up into your butt. We're going to bring the hands together, interlace the fingers, pointers forward, and we're going to start to stir the pot. So we're just going to move. Think about keeping your hips nice and stable on the ground. And we're just drawing some nice big giant circles like you're stirring a big giant cauldron. Just circle around, let your spine move with you. Feel your sits bones nice and heavily anchored on the floor. Take one more circle around in this direction, and then when you're ready, we're going to reverse directions and go the other way. Beautiful. Take one more big giant circle around, and then when you're ready, we're going to release that interlace of the fingers. Swing your legs around and find your way into a tabletop position or come onto all fours. Once you come onto all fours, just take a second to check in. If you like to cushion your knees, place a blanket or a towel under your knees. If you like to cushion your wrists, take a second to do that. Once you found your way there, and then anyone who's got tender knees today, you're just going to be super mindful. If your kneecaps don't like being on the floor, protect your shins, because we're going to do just a little grown-up temper tantrum. So we're going to start down at our feet, and we're just going to bang our feet against the floor with a little bit of a rhythm. How intense you go here, just what feels good to you. So we're just stimulating the tops of the feet, but just make sure that your knees feel comfortable in this position. One more little temper tantrum down at the bottom half of the body, and then we're going to take it up to the top, but we're going to slow it down a little bit. So we're going to slap one hand and then the other. How intense you go here, find a bit of intensity that feels good to you. We want to feel a little bit of impact on the hands, on the bones, on the shoulders, but not too much that you're injuring yourself. Nice. Take one more slap of each hand, and then when you're ready, let everything come to a stillness, and we're going to move right into scrape the peanut butter jar or barrel roll. So drop your belly down, pull your ribs over to one side, circle around, and then make those nice smooth circles. Same thing here. How deep you go with this movement all just depends on how your body feels. I like to make my movements big so I can project them so you can see what's going on, but that does not mean that your movements have to be as big as the movements that I make. Take one more circle around, and then when you're ready, take those barrel rolls or scrape the peanut butter jar in the other direction. Nice. Take one more big circle around, and then as you come up to center, curl both sets of toes under. We're going to start to rock gently forward and back. Take a moment to just think about that little bit of movement that happened in the bones of your toes just to curl the toes under. When you rock forward and back, you might feel that stress or stretch at the bottoms of the feet, that plantar fascia that connects the heel all the way up to the ball of the foot. Take one more rock forward and back. And then the next time you rock back, just stay there for an extra cycle of breath. Notice the bottoms of your feet. Beautiful. And then on your next inhale, lift up to tabletop, release your toes. We're going to walk it into puppy pose or heart melting pose. Walk your hands forward, drop your chest and forehead down. Take a nice deep breath in. Slow breath out. And now we're going to add a little bit of strength in our puppy pose. So we're going to pull the abdominal muscles up towards the spine, broaden the shoulders, but we stay reached out in that position. So we want to find a little bit of a rounding through the back of the body. And then when you feel like it, gently relax just a little bit. And then when you're ready, add that strength again. Pull the abdominal muscles up, broaden through the shoulders, a slight rounding through the back of the body. Beautiful. And then soften back down. One more time here, just to find that strength. Pull the abdominal muscles towards the spine, broaden the backs of the shoulders. Lovely. And then soften into a more neutral position. Walk your hands back into that tabletop position. From here, we're going to move it up to a downward facing dog. Curl the toes under, exhale up, but we're not going to stay here. So just pause for one tiny moment. And then when you're ready, look forward. Walk your feet up to meet your hands, come to a soft ragdoll fold at the top of the mat. So feet about hip or shoulder distance apart, super generous bend in the knees. Let your head hang nice and heavy here. And now if it feels good, you're going to take your hands, interlace them behind the head. We're going to hug the hands around that occipital lobe, that ridge of the skull that meets the cervical spine. So find that little ridge of your skull, let your thumbs rest there, and then let the weight of your hands gently draw you into a little traction. So we're just going to let the head hang nice and heavy. As much as you can, let the muscles in the spine relax. I should say the muscles around the spine. Take one more breath. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, relax your hands away from your head, bend your knees even more, pull your abdominal muscles in slow as you can, roll your way up to a standing position, take your time as you come up. And then once you found your way up to standing, take a couple of good shrugs of your shoulders and then get yourself adjusted, fix your clothes, fix your hair, find your way to a mountain pose at the top of your mat. Toes and knees pointing fairly forward, feet about hip or shoulder distance apart. Some people like a more narrow stance, but if you look at the bone set here, when I stepped my feet in, my heels suddenly got out of line with those hip bones. So stepping your feet so that your heels are in line with your hips might feel like a very comfortable position. Slightly wider might feel stable if you have any little subtle imbalances. So find the stance that makes you feel nice and strong, and then push down into your feet, press up through the crown of your head. And just for a moment here, feel that nice strength that comes with just standing up nice and tall. Take a nice big breath in, breathe into your rib cage, front to back, side to side. Nice slow exhale. When you're ready, inhale, arms up and look up. Exhale, hands to heart center, hands down at your sides. Inhale, arms up, look up. Exhale, this time we're going to bend the knees, hinge from the waist, fold down to the ground. Inhale to half forward fold. Keep that nice length in your spine. Bend your knees, push into your feet. Inhale, arms up. Hands to heart center, hands down at your sides. Inhale, arms up, look up. Exhale, bend your knees and fold. Inhale, half forward fold. This time we're going to soften down and then roll up through the sides. So bend your knees, pull your abdominal muscles in, roll up through the spine, nice and slow and controlled. Roll the shoulders around, down and back, and then pause just for a moment in your mountain pose. Notice how your body feels. Beautiful. When you're ready, inhale, arms up, look up. Exhale, bend your knees and fold. Inhale, half forward fold. Exhale to soften down. We're going to step the right leg back to a warrior two position. So step your right leg back, drop the heel down, turn the toes out. Right hand is going to spin you up. So hips are angled out to the side, front knee is pointing forward. So here we get just that little viewpoint of an external rotation in that front thigh, internal rotation in that back thigh. Feet are nice and anchored on the floor. And then see if you can just draw that strength up the legs, up the side body, out through the fingertips. Take a nice big breath. Beautiful. Now we're going to take it into triangle pose. We're going to straighten that front leg, pop the back hip out, reach long through the torso. Now you might land on your thigh. That might be enough. You might choose to stop at the shin. That might feel good. You might touch down to the floor. If you have a lot of mobility, you can maybe grab the big toe. So find the place that feels the strongest to you. And then think about pulling those bottom ribs forward. Top hand reaches up to the sky, look up towards the ceiling, forward or down, just whatever feels more stable to you there. And then pause for a moment and just notice the strength in your body. Lovely. With control, strong legs, strong side body, support the bones as you lift the torso up and away and then reverse your triangle. Drop the back hand, reach the front hand up. From here, we're going to circle it down to the ground. So we're going to bend that front knee, pivot that back foot, circle your hands around, come into a runner's lunge, look forward, take a breath. Nice. And then plant your palms, step back to a plank and pause in your plank just for a moment. Plank position is a super strong position. It supports the whole entire body. So think about your frame here. Pull the abdominal muscles up, broaden your shoulders, take one more breath. And then when you're ready, gently release your knees, slow and controlled, lower down onto your belly. Once you come all the way down, we're going to take 3 low cobras here. Inhale, lift your heart up. Exhale to lower down. Same thing here for our cobras. If you're dealing with any osteo stuff, you would keep your cobras long and light. You wouldn't come up super high. You would think about reaching through the crown of your head and just keeping it in a lighter, lower position. When you're ready, push your way up to a tabletop position, curl the toes under, exhale up to downward facing dog, take a breath. Look forward, walk your feet up to meet your hands, come to a forward fold at the top of your mat. Inhale to half forward fold. Exhale to soften all the way down, bend your knees, pull your abdominal muscles in, roll your way up to standing, roll the shoulders around, down and back, pause in your mountain, take a breath. Beautiful. Inhale, arms up and look up. Exhale, bend your knees and fold. Inhale, half forward fold. Exhale to soften down, left leg back, warrior two to the other side. Drop the back heel, turn the toes out. Left hand is going to pick you up. And then just for a moment here, tune into that, just that notice that front thigh is externally rotated. The back thigh is slightly internally rotated. Nice strong feet. Ribs are in line with the hip bones. Arms are reaching outward. Gaze past that front hand. Take a nice big breath. Awesome. And then we'll move into triangle pose from here. Straighten that front leg. Pop the back hip out. Maybe you tip forward just a little bit. Maybe you find the thigh, maybe the shin, maybe the floor, maybe the big toe, just whatever range of motion is good for you. Think about pulling those bottom ribs forward. Top hand reaches up, and then perhaps you look up, forward, or down, just what makes you feel more stable here. One more breath, just noticing your strength here. And then when you're ready, strong legs, strong side body, lift the ribs away from the thigh, drop the back hand, reach the front hand up, reverse your triangle. Beautiful. And then we're going to bend that front knee, spin the hands around and down, pivot your back heel so you come through runner's lunge. Lovely. Plant the palms, step back to plank. Pause in your plank position. Broaden your shoulders, push the floor away from you, and then check your head. So if you have that tendency towards that slight forward posture of the head, just for a moment here, pull your head back and make that tiny little double chin. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, gently release your knees down, slowly lower onto your belly. 3 low cobras here. Inhale, lift your heart up. Exhale to lower down. Inhale to lift up. Exhale to lower down. One more time. Inhale, lift up. Exhale to lower down. Push your way up to tabletop position. Curl the toes under. Exhale up to downward facing dog. Nice. When you're ready, look forward, walk your feet up to meet your hands. Come to forward fold at the top of your mat. Inhale to half forward fold. Exhale to soften down, bend your knees, pull your abdominal muscles in, roll up to standing, roll your shoulders up to your ears, around, down, and back, and we're going to move right into a tree pose. So if you like to use a wall or a chair or some sort of support, take a second to find it, and then transfer your weight onto your favorite foot to start. Start by just externally rotating that thigh bone. Keep your big toe on the ground, see how that feels. That might be just enough for you this morning, but if you're feeling good and you want to play around, maybe you slide the foot up to the calf, and if that's feeling really good and you like that bigger movement of the body, perhaps you place that foot to the inner thigh. Once you've got your place that you want to be, prayer hands together, maybe a little cactus arms, or maybe you stretch your arms all the way up and overhead. Find the depth of work that feels good and expressive to you this morning, and then just take a moment, focus your gaze, notice your breath. A little lightheartedness and balance goes a long way. Take one more moment. And then wherever you are, slowly and gently release, come out, take a second to do that little Elvis asana, shake it all out. And then when you're ready, we're going to take it over to the other side. So transfer your weight onto your foot. Start by leaving the big toe on the ground, just externally rotate the thigh bone, see how that feels. If it feels good on this side, maybe you come up to the calf. If that feels good and you want to play around, perhaps you move it up just a little bit further. There's no right or wrong, and there's no integrity to bringing it up further. So finding the balance might feel like where you're at today. Prayer hands, cactus arms, arms up and overhead, just whatever feels most expressive to you. Amazing. When you're ready, slowly, gently release, take a second to shake it all out. And then when you're ready, we're going to come all the way down to the ground. So if you like that little ball of yarn, we're just going to start by bending the knees, pick up the heels, lower your way down to the ground. Pause in your little ball of yarn, tuck your chin into your chest, take a breath. Nice. And then when you're ready, sit your butt down onto the ground. We're going to come down slow and controlled, keeping your core muscles engaged. Curl your tailbone under, gently lower your spine onto the ground, but take your time. You'll hit that tipping point where your body wants to kind of collapse onto the ground. Can you stay in control the whole way down? Nice. And then once you found your way down onto the ground, step your heels a little closer to your butt. Feet about hip width distance apart. We're going to bring it into a bridge position from here. So hands alongside the hips, press the backs of your arms into the ground, press the backs of your rib cage into the ground. Keep that nice strong position. And then as you exhale, lift your butt up away from the ground. Inhale to lower back down. Exhale to lift up. Inhale to lower down. One more time. Exhale to lift up. Inhale to lower down. We're going to pull the right knee into the chest, grab the knee, take that knee, draw it in a couple gentle circles, go in one direction. Draw the knee in circles, go the other way. Nice. And then when you're ready, set that foot down, switch over to the other side. Pull the left knee up towards your chest, take that knee, draw it in circles, go in one direction. Draw your knee in circles, go the other way. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, set that left leg down. We're going to come back to our bridge. So hands alongside the hips. Exhale, lift your hips up. Inhale to lower down. Exhale to lift up. Inhale to lower down. One more time here. Exhale to lift. Inhale to lower down. We're going to pull the right knee into the chest. This time, left leg is going to go nice and long. And now we're going to move into supine twist. Supine twist is a twist predominantly in the spinal column. So that's what we're looking for. Right shoulder is going to try to stay nice and anchored towards the right side of your mat. Right knee is going to come over to the left. And hopefully here we're finding rotational movement in the spine. Perhaps you turn your head to the right if that feels good. Stay here for just one more moment, but see if you can think about where the rib cage is and breathe back into your rib cage. Think front to back, side to side, a nice 4-part breath into the rib cage. Nice. And then when you're ready, pull the right knee into your chest, bring your left knee into me, just a light little hug and squeeze, and then hold on to your left knee, let your right leg go nice and long, supine twist to the other side. So think about keeping your left shoulder anchored. Bring the left knee over to the right, just as far as feels right to your body. Same thing here. If you have any osteo stuff and you're recommended to keep your movement in the spine light, you might not go as far as my body looks like it's doing. Last cycle of breath, see if you can just find that breath back in the rib cage, breathing front to back and side to side. Beautiful. When you're ready, pull the left knee into your chest, bring the right knee into me, a light little squeeze. We're going to hold onto the right knee, let the left foot set down. Now we're going to grab the left heel. We're going to externally rotate to the thigh bone and then bring it back in just a little bit. Externally rotate, bring it back in, externally rotate, bring it back in. And this time we're going to set it up for our figure 4. So as you externally rotate, bring it across the left thigh. This might be enough. You might choose to stay here. But if this feels good and you like that little extra something, pick that left leg up. Maybe you thread your hands through wherever feels appropriate, and then gently draw the legs in just to your comfort level. Relax your shoulders, soften your abdomen. Now, if you have that handhold behind the thigh or the shin, we're going to use our hands to create a resistance. You're going to imagine that you're pushing the outside of your right thigh, the leg that's bent. That's the leg that we're going to try to imagine we're pushing down with. So hands are going to hold on tight. Left leg is going to keep a firm position. You're going to imagine you're pushing the outside of your right thigh down towards the ground. So we're engaging the right leg. The left leg is resisting and the hands are helping resist. If you're down on the ground, same basic principle, but you don't necessarily need your hands here, but you're still going to imagine that you're pushing the outside of your right side down into the ground and hold that resistance. See if you can hold it there for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax that, gently draw it in just to your comfort level. And then when you're ready, slowly and mindfully release. Step your right foot off, pause for a moment and notice. And then we're going to pick up the left knee, left heel, externally rotate the thigh, bring it back in just a little bit. Externally rotate, bring it back in. Externally rotate, bring it back in. And this time, externally rotate, bring it across the right leg. Pause here for a moment. You might feel great here. This might be just enough. If this feels good, but you want that more, pick up the right leg, thread your hands through to your comfort level, hug the legs in, take a breath. Awesome. Now from here, we're going to hold on to the back of the thigh or the shin. Right leg is going to do the nice resistance work. Left leg is going to do the pushing downward. So you're going to think that you're pushing down with your outside of your left thigh. So hold on tight. Push the outside of the left thigh down, right leg and hands are doing the resistance, and see if you can hold it there nice and strong for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Soften, take a breath. And then when you're ready, gently release. Take that left foot off the right. We're going to toe heel the feet out nice and wide, and then take some big giant windshield wipers, dropping the knees side to side, allowing the hips to move with you just as much as feels good. Nice. One more windshield wiper each side, and then we're going to keep that wider position with the knees. pull the knees up towards the shoulders. So that variation of happy baby where the knees are just wide, take a moment to notice how that feels. This might feel like just enough. If it feels great and you want to go into that bigger happy baby, lift your feet up and find the handhold that works good for you. So maybe the blade edges of the feet, maybe the big toes, maybe the backs of the thighs. And then once you've got your handhold that you like, take it into some generous rocking motion. Rock just as much as feels good to your body. Make sure your back feels comfortable and your hips feel comfortable. Beautiful. One more little rock side to side, and I'm just going to spin around just so I'm facing in the way that the camera can see. So take one more little rock side to side, and now we're going to release our handhold. Bring your hands to the insides of your thighs. So arms are going to push out as the legs push in. You're going to push the backs of your arms into your knees or thighs. Thighs are going to push into the arms, and we're going to hold that resistance. So we're just getting those hip stabilizer muscles to kick on. See if you can hold that position for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax, release your arms. And now arms are going to come to the outside. Hands are going to come to the outsides of the knees or the thighs. Your knees are going to push out as your hands push in. We're going to find that resistance there. So pushing the knees out, pushing the hands in, hold that resistance for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Take a second to just kind of wiggle everything out. And now we're going to bring it into a reverse tabletop position. So now bend your legs so that they're in that 90-degree bend. Left hand on top of the knee, right hand behind the thigh. So now we're going to do that opposite push-pull. This one's for Audra. So hand on top of the knee, hand on bottom of the thigh. The knee is going to push into the hand and the thigh is going to push down into the right hand. So get that opposite push-pull. Push the thigh down into the bottom hand, push the knee up into the top hand, hold that strength. Hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release and switch. Right hand on top of the knee, left hand behind the thigh. So now the right knee pushes up as the left thigh pushes down. Hold that opposite push-pull. Hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Release. Set both feet down. We're going to walk the feet super close together. So big toes together, knees together, inner thighs together. Push your knees in towards each other and hold that strong position. Hold it for 3 cycles of breath. So just keep pushing the knees in towards each other. You should feel your inner thighs kicked on, outer thighs kicked on. You may even feel a little work happening in the outside of your butt. Hold it there for 2 more cycles of breath. Last breath. Beautiful. Soften that position. Let the knees fall out. Come into reclined butterfly position. Take 1 good breath here. Nice. And then when you're ready, bring your legs up, but then walk your feet slightly apart. So we're going to come back to that bridge position. Heels close to the butt, feet about hip width distance apart, hands down alongside the hips. 1 exhale, lift your hips up, and then hold that nice strong bridging position. Notice your rib cage. If your rib cage is super puffed out, can you imagine that you're trying to reach your backs of your ribs down towards the ground? So just think about anchoring the backs of your ribs down towards the ground. See if that kicked on any of your abdominal muscles. Take 1 more moment. And then roll down through the spinal column. So 1 vertebrae at a time, slowly and mindfully roll your way all the way down to the ground. Nice. And then take some light, gentle swishes of the knees side to side, and then start to ask yourself, where would be your best shavasana? Would it feel good to take that traditional shape, walk your feet nice and long? Would it feel good to come to constructive rest, which can be super supportive to the low back? Maybe a reclined cobbler's pose if you want just that little extra something for your hips. So find the position of the body that would feel really good to you. Take a second to get comfortable in it. If you're in a cool space, make sure you put your sweater, your blanket, your socks on, whatever makes you feel cozy. you always have the option to stay in your shavasana just as long as you like. But if you feel ready to do so, or if your day requires it, start by gently reawakening your fingers, gently wiggle your toes. If it feels good, maybe rock your head just a little bit side to side, invite some movement back into the cervical spine, massage out the back of the head, just kind of tune in and notice. Notice if you're holding any tension in your jaw or tension in the space between your eyes. Can you take one more moment to let all of that go? And then if it feels good to do so and you're feeling like your body is a little bit more awake now, take it into a big good morning stretch like a yawn. Stretch your legs nice and long, reach your arms up and overhead, and then bring that nice long reach into your body. Reach through your fingers, reach through your toes, take a nice big giant breath back into your body. Nice. And then in your own way and at your own pace, find your way up to a comfortable seated position. Something you could sit up nice and tall, and then we're just going to fire up the palms and do the hip points, the rib points, and the shoulders. So just some place where you have a little access to those places. Get comfy here, and then bring your palms together and fire up your palms to get them nice and good and hot. Awesome. Once your hands feel nice and good and hot, we're going to bring those hands right to the hip points. Close your eyes down. Take a nice deep breath in. Slow breath out. Offer up just a little bit of gratitude for your hips, your thighs, the bones that move with you and take you everywhere you want to go. When you're ready, bring your hands back together, fire up those palms, get them nice and good and hot. Once you feel like your hands are nice and good and hot, we're going to bring them to the ribs. So anywhere around the rib cage that you can get a handhold, close your eyes down for just a moment. Take a nice full breath in. Nice slow breath out. Offer up a little gratitude for the rib cage that protects all those really important organs, our heart, our lungs, and everything else in between. And then when you're ready, release your hands, bring your palms together, fire up your palms, get them nice and good and hot. And then once your hands are nice and good and hot, we're going to give ourselves a little hug. So bring it right around the shoulders, close your eyes down, take a nice deep breath in. Nice slow breath out. A little gratitude for the shoulders, the arms, the fingers, the big huggy bones, and then just give yourself a light little squeeze. And then when you're ready, release, hands stacked on top of the heart, bow your head to your heart. Breathing in love and gratitude for yourself, for your mind, for your body, and for all of your hard work. And breathe in a whole bunch of extra love and gratitude that you can carry with you through the rest of your day and share with everyone you see. And when you feel ready, gently lift up to the top of your head, gently open your eyes. I bow to you. Happy Saturday. You guys are so amazing.